My daughter-in-law stood in my kitchen, pointed toward the front door, and said, "This is our house now." She said it with my coffee mug in her hand. My mug, the blue one with a little chip on the handle, the one my late husband, Raymond, bought me from a gas station on our 25th anniversary because he had forgotten the real gift at home and said, "Baby, love can be cheap as long as it's sincere." I had laughed that day until my stomach hurt. That mug had been in my cabinet for 17 years, and there stood my daughter-in-law, holding it like everything in that house had already become hers, the curtains I sewed, the table Raymond refinished with his own hands, the little plant shelf near the window, the hallway where my son, Terrence, took his first steps, the kitchen floor I had mopped on my knees after every birthday party, every Sunday dinner, every holiday spill. She looked around like she was standing in a place she had conquered, not a home, a prize. I remember. The morning clearly. It was a Thursday, rainy, the kind of rain that makes a house feel smaller and every old memory louder. I had been up since 6, making oatmeal because my knees had been bothering me, and oatmeal was the kind of breakfast that did not ask too much from a tired woman. I lived alone by then. Raymond had been gone for years. Cancer, slow and cruel, the kind that takes a strong man and turns him into someone who apologizes for needing help. The house had been quiet since he passed, too quiet sometimes, but it was mine and the way a home becomes yours after years of laughter, bills, arguments, repairs, prayers, and tears. Not because it was fancy. It was in single quotes. It was a small brick house on Maple Grove Road with white trim, a narrow front porch, and a backyard where Raymond planted tomatoes every summer even though the squirrels always beat him to half of them, but it was paid for. That meant something. Raymond had made sure of it before he died. He used to say, "Gloria, whatever happens, you'll always have this roof." And I believed him. Maybe that was my first mistake, not believing Raymond, believing that everyone else would respect what he left me. My son, Terrence, had moved back into town 6 months before that morning. He was 38, my only child, tall, like his father, quiet like me, and soft-hearted in a way that made people think they could lean on him until his knees bent. He had married Vanessa 2 years earlier. Vanessa was beautiful, I will not lie about that. Smooth brown skin, sharp cheekbones, always dressed like she was being photographed for something. She worked in real estate, and she had a way of walking into rooms like she was already deciding what needed to be upgraded. When Terrence first brought her to my house, I cooked smothered chicken, greens, macaroni, cornbread, and peach cobbler. Vanessa smiled politely and said, "This is so traditional." Traditional? I was not sure if it was a compliment, but Terrence looked happy, so I smiled and said thank you. Mothers do that. We swallow little things when our children are smiling. It first. Vanessa was kind enough, not warm, but kind enough. She called me Mrs. Gloria, never Mama Gloria, never Mom, just Mrs. Gloria, with a little distance folded into it. I did not force closeness. A woman cannot demand to be loved by her child's spouse. She can only remain respectful and hope time softens the corners, but time did not soften Vanessa. It sharpened her. Little comments came slowly. "You still use that old stove? This wallpaper is nostalgic, you know. Open floor plans really increase value." I told Terrence this area could be so much more modern. At first, I laughed them off. Then I started cleaning before she came over. Then I started feeling nervous in my own home. That should have told me something. A house is not just walls. It is also the place where your spirit takes off its shoes, and mine had started standing at attention whenever Vanessa visited. Still, I kept peace. Terrence loved her, and I loved Terrence. Then their apartment lease ended. Terrence called me one evening. "Ma," he said, "can I ask you something?" I knew that tone, the careful tone children use when they have already decided they need you, but they are hoping you will not make them feel bad about it. What is it, baby? Our rent is going up. How much? He sighed. Too much. I sat at the kitchen table. Can you manage it? Maybe, but Vanessa's business has been slow, and I've been picking up extra shifts, but… He went quiet. I knew what he was asking before he asked. You need a place to stay, just for a little while, he said quickly. 3 months maybe, 6 at most. We'll help with bills. We'll save. We'll get our own place. I looked around my kitchen, the same kitchen where he used to sit with cereal before school, the same doorway where I used to mark his height with pencil. My son needed help. What was I supposed to say? No? A mother's no has to climb over a mountain of memories before it reaches her mouth. So I said yes, of course, baby. You can come home. He exhaled like I had pulled him out of water. Thank you, Ma. I promise we won't be in your way. I smiled sadly. It's your home too. I wish I had chosen different words, not because Terrence misused them at first, but because Vanessa heard them later and turned them into something else. They moved in 2 weeks later. At first, it felt good to have noise again, footsteps, laundry, the television in the evening, Terrence fixing little things I had ignored since Raymond died. He changed the porch light, tightened the cabinet handle, cleaned the gutters. For the first time in a long time, the house felt alive. Then Vanessa started rearranging. Small things at first. She moved my spices from one cabinet to another because she said the old place didn't flow. She changed the living room pillows. She took down Raymond's fishing picture from the hallway and placed it in the guest room. When I asked why, she said, it felt too heavy near the entrance. Too heavy. My dead husband was too heavy for the hallway of the house he paid for. I wanted to say something. I looked at Terrence. He looked uncomfortable. So I swallowed it. Again, I told myself Vanessa was nesting. Newly married women like to make a place feel like theirs. I understood that, but there is a difference between making space and taking over. I did not know how far she planned to go until the Saturday she invited a contractor to my house without asking me. I came home from church pantry duty and found a man standing in my kitchen with a tape measure. Vanessa stood beside him, pointing at the wall between the kitchen and dining room. If we remove this, the whole space opens up, she said. I stopped in the doorway. Remove what? The contractor turned. Vanessa looked startled, but only for a second. Oh, Mrs. Gloria, you're back. Yes, I live here. Terrence walked in from the living room, face tight. Ma, I can explain. I looked at the contractor. Sir, who called you? He glanced at Vanessa. I was asked to give an estimate for my house. Vanessa smiled. Just an estimate. No one is doing anything yet. Yet, that word had teeth. I said, there will be no estimate. The contractor looked embarrassed. I can come back another time. No, you cannot. He packed up quickly and left. The door closed behind him. The house went silent. Vanessa folded her arms. You didn't have to embarrass him. I looked at her. You invited a stranger to measure walls in my house. We were trying to help. Help who? She looked at Terrence. He rubbed his forehead. Ma, Vanessa just thought if we updated the place, it could increase value. I am not selling. Vanessa tilted her head. No one said selling. Then why are we talking about value? She gave a small laugh, the kind without joy. Mrs. Gloria, you have to think long term. I stared at her. Long term for who? Terrence stepped forward. Okay, let's calm down. I turned to my son. I am calm. Vanessa said, you sound upset. I am allowed to be upset calmly. She looked away. That should have been the moment I set firm boundaries. That should have been the moment I said, this is my home, and if you cannot respect that, you need another place to stay. But I looked at Terrence, my boy, tired eyes, shoulders heavy, trying to hold his wife and mother in the same room without either one breaking. So I softened. I said, just ask me next time. Vanessa smiled, not warmly, victorious. There won't be a next time, but there was. There always is when the first disrespect is forgiven without consequence. Over the next month, my home changed piece by piece. My dining room table was pushed against the wall because Vanessa needed space for a workstation. My good china was moved to a box in the pantry. My old curtains disappeared and were replaced with cream panels that looked pretty but let in too much light. One morning, I came downstairs and found my rocking chair gone from the living room. That chair had been Raymond's last gift to me, a soft brown rocker he bought when my knees started hurting. I stood in the living room, looking at the empty spot. Terrence? He came from the hallway. What's wrong? Where is my chair? He looked toward Vanessa's room. Vanessa thought it made the living room look crowded. Where is it? In the garage. The garage. My chair. In the garage. I walked past him. Ma, wait. I opened the garage door. There it was, covered halfway by a plastic sheet, sitting beside old paint cans and a broken fan. Something in me cracked. Terrence stood behind me. I was going to move it back when he did not answer. That answer hurt more than I expected. I turned to him. Your father bought me that chair. I know. Do you? His face fell. I'm sorry. I believed he was, but sorry did not move the chair back until I asked. That is how things were going. People were sorry after I noticed, not respectful before they touched. Then came the morning Vanessa held my mug. The rain was falling. Terrence had already left for work. I came into the kitchen and found Vanessa standing by the counter, scrolling through her phone. She was wearing one of those satin robes women wear when they want the house to know they are expensive. My blue mug was in her hand. On the table were paint samples, gray, cream, soft black, colors with names like Stone Whisper and Urban Linen. I looked at the samples. What are these? She did not look up. Options. For what? The kitchen. I stared at her. What about the kitchen? She finally looked up. Mrs. Gloria, we need to talk. I felt my stomach tighten. Yes. She placed the mug down. Not gently. I know you're attached to things here. I respect that. But Terrence and I are married. We need space to build our life. And this house has so much potential. I said nothing. She continued. I'm not trying to hurt you. But you have to accept that things are changing. Changing how? She looked me straight in the eye. This is our house now. The rain tapped the windows. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere in the hallway, the old floor settled with a small creak. I heard all of it because for a moment, my body went very still. Our house, I repeated. She nodded. You said Terrence could come home. He is your son. He has a right to feel at home here. He does. And I'm his wife. Yes, so this is our home too. Home too is not the same as house now. Her face tightened. You know what I mean. I'm beginning to. She stepped closer. You're not getting younger, Mrs. Gloria. There it was, the age card. People pull it out when they want to move you without calling it pushing. This place is too much for you to manage alone. I managed it before you came. Barely. That word slapped me. Barely. I thought of the gutters I could not climb to clean, the back steps Terrence fixed, the garden I had let go after Raymond died, the rooms I no longer used. Had she been looking at all of that as proof I was no longer fit to live in my own home? I said, Vanessa, this house is mine. She smiled slightly, but one day it will be Terrence's. My breath caught. I had never told her that. I had never said what was in my will. I had never discussed my plans with her. Who told you that? She looked away. Terrence is your only child. That is not what I asked. She picked up a paint sample. I'm just being realistic. Realistic about my death? She looked offended. That is not fair. No, what is not fair is standing in my kitchen, drinking from my mug, telling me my house is yours because you are waiting on me to be gone. Her face changed. For the first time, she looked unsure. Then the front door opened. Terrence came in, shaking rain from his jacket. He stopped when he saw us. What's going on? Vanessa turned to him. Your mother is twisting my words. I laughed once, not because it was funny, because sometimes pain comes out as the wrong sound. I looked at my son. Did you tell your wife this house would be yours? His face went pale. Ma, that was enough. One word, ma, soft, guilty. I sat down slowly at the kitchen table. Answer me. He looked at Vanessa, then at me. I said eventually. I didn't mean now, eventually. The word sounded like a shovel hitting dirt. Vanessa folded her arms. Terrence, don't act like we haven't talked about this. I looked at him. His shoulders dropped. We talked about the future. My future or yours? He had no answer. I looked at both of them. Then I saw it. The paint samples, the missing chair, the contractor, the moved pictures, the way Vanessa had started saying we in rooms where I had not been consulted. This was not care. This was preparation. They had not moved in temporarily. Vanessa had moved in with a plan. And my son, my soft-hearted boy, had let her talk about a future where I was less of a person and more of an obstacle. I stood. My knees hurt, but I stood. Both of you need to listen carefully. Terrence said, Ma, please, let's just calm. No, you will not calm me out of my own voice. He stopped. Vanessa looked annoyed. Good. I was tired of making disrespect comfortable. This house is mine. Raymond left it to me. I decide what moves, what changes, what stays, and who lives here. Vanessa opened her mouth. I raised my hand. I am not finished. Her mouth closed. Terrence, I love you. You needed help, and I gave it. But help is not ownership. His eyes filled. I know. No? You forgot. That hurt him. I saw it. But truth sometimes has to hurt before it heals. I turned to Vanessa, and you. Do not ever stand in my kitchen again and tell me this is your house now. She stared at me. Then quietly, coldly, she said, maybe this arrangement is no longer working. I nodded. I agree. Terrence looked at me sharply. Ma, you both have 30 days. Vanessa's face changed. What, 30 days to find another place? Terrence stepped forward. Ma, wait. I looked at him. I have waded through moved furniture, removed pictures, contractors, paint samples, and conversations about my house like I was already in the ground. I am done waiting. Vanessa picked up her phone. Unbelievable. I looked at her. No, baby. What's unbelievable is that you thought I would keep feeding the people measuring me for absence. Terrence sat down like his legs had gone weak. I walked to the garage, pulled the plastic sheet off my rocking chair, and with every bit of strength in my tired body, I dragged that chair back into the living room. The legs scraped across the floor. Terrence jumped up. Ma, let me help. No. I kept pulling, not because I did not need help, because that chair was coming back by my hands. When I finally got it into place, I sat down in it, breathing hard, knees aching, heart pounding. Vanessa stood in the hallway, watching me like she had never really seen me before. Maybe she hadn't. Maybe she had only seen an old woman in the way. I rocked once, slowly, then I looked at my son. 30 days. For the first time since Terrence and Vanessa moved in, my house became quiet in the right way, not peaceful exactly. There was too much tension for peace, but something had shifted. Before that morning, I had been the one walking softly. I had been the one checking my tone. I had been the one swallowing small insults so no one else had to feel uncomfortable. After I said 30 days, they became the ones walking carefully. Vanessa stopped moving things. That was the first thing I noticed. My mug stayed in the cabinet. My curtains stayed on the windows. Raymond's fishing picture returned to the hallway, not by my hands. One evening, I came out of my bedroom and saw Terrence standing on a chair, hanging it back up. He did not know I was watching. He held the frame carefully, like it was fragile, like it mattered. When he stepped down, he saw me. His face softened with shame. I should have put it back sooner, he said. Yes. He nodded. No defense. No excuse. Just yes, that was new. Vanessa, on the other hand, got quiet in a different way. Her silence was not regret. It was strategy. she spent more time in the guest room with the door closed, talking on the phone in a low voice. When she came into the kitchen, she said, "Good morning," like it cost her money. She stopped calling me Mrs. Gloria for a while. Then one day she called me Gloria, just Gloria.no Mrs.no respect. I looked up. From my tea, she stood by the fridge. "Gloria, have you seen the almond milk?" Terence, who was buttering toast at the counter, froze. I placed my cup down. "My name is Mrs. Gloria to you." Vanessa turned slowly. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." She smiled tightly. "I thought we were all adults here." "We are. Which is why you can use the name I allow in my house." Terence closed his eyes. "Vanessa." She grabbed the almond milk and shut the fridge. "Fine." "Mrs. Gloria." The way she said it had sharp edges, but she said it, that mattered. Not because I needed a title, because disrespect often starts testing doors with small keys. I had started locking mine. The 30-day notice became a shadow over the house. Terence tried to talk to me the first week. "Ma, can we sit down?" "We can." He sat across from me at the kitchen table, looking tired. "I'm sorry. You said that. I mean it. I believe you mean it in this moment." He winced. "What does that mean?" "It means you are sorry because things got bad." "I'm not sure yet if you understand why they got bad." He rubbed his hands together. "She pushed too hard." I shook my head. "No." He looked confused. "Vanessa pushed." "But you opened doors." He sat back. I continued. "She could not have known this house would be yours one day unless you told her. She could not have gotten comfortable planning changes unless you let her. She could not have moved your father's picture without knowing. You would not stop her." His eyes lowered. "I didn't want conflict, and you created it anyway. You just made sure I carried most of it." That landed. His face tightened, not with anger, but with pain. "Ma, I never wanted you to feel pushed out, but did you notice I was?" Silence. "Terence," he whispered. "Yes." That one word hurt, because it meant I had not imagined it. He had seen, maybe not all of it, but enough. "And you said nothing." I kept thinking it would settle down. "No." "You kept hoping I would absorb it." His eyes filled. I looked at my son, the same boy who used to bring me dandelions from the yard like they were roses. The same boy who cried when Raymond lost his hair during chemo. The same boy who held my hand at his father's funeral and said, "I'll take care of you." "Ma." He had meant it then, but meaning well does not always stop a person from doing harm. He said, "I think I let Vanessa's fear become my plan." "What fear?" He sighed. "She's scared we'll never have anything of our own." I softened a little. Vanessa did not come from ease. I knew that. Her mother had moved from rental to rental when Vanessa was young. Her father had not stayed. She had built herself into a polished woman because she never wanted anyone to see the scared girl underneath. Terence continued. "She keeps saying we're behind other couples our age have homes, investments, plans. She says we're starting from nothing, and my house looked like something." He nodded, ashamed. I sat with that. Understanding is not the same as excusing. That took me years to learn. I could understand Vanessa's fear. I could understand Terence's pressure, but I would not allow their fear to become my eviction notice. "Terence," I said, "your father and I did not get this house by hoping somebody older would move out of the way. We worked, we saved, we sacrificed, we bought what we could afford, not what made us look successful." He nodded. "I know. No, you remember. There is a difference." He looked at me then, tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Ma." This time, the apology had weight. I let it sit. Then I said, "You still need to move." His face fell. "I know." Good. That was the beginning of truth. But truth brings other things with it, like panic. The second week, Vanessa's mother, Claudia, came over. And a warning. She knocked once and walked in like my front door belonged to the family council. She was a tall woman with short red hair and a voice that carried even when she whispered. I was in the living room, folding laundry. She looked around. eyes landing on my rocking chair. Gloria, Claudia, I heard you're putting your son out. There it was. No, hello. No, how are you? Just accusation in a handbag. I folded a towel slowly. Terrence and Vanessa have 30 days to find another place. So yes, they are adults. They are family. I know. That is why they were allowed to stay. She sat down without being invited. That bothered me, not enough to say something yet, but I noticed. Claudia leaned forward. Vanessa is devastated. I'm sure she is upset. She feels unwanted. I looked at her. Interesting feeling, isn't it? Her eyes narrowed. My daughter has done nothing but try to make this house better. This house did not ask for her improvements. She was thinking of the future, my future or hers. Claudia's mouth tightened. You are being selfish. There it was, the word people bring when their entitlement fails. Selfish. I placed the folded towel in the basket. Claudia, do you own your home? She blinked. What? Do you own your home? That's not relevant. It is to me. She lifted her chin. I rent. If someone came into your rented home and started moving your furniture, removing your pictures, inviting contractors, and telling you it was theirs now, how would you feel? She did not answer. I nodded. Exactly. She stood. You're going to lose your son behind this. The room went still. I looked at her. No. If I lose my son because I asked to be respected in my own home, then he was already farther gone than I knew. She stared at me. Then she said, Vanessa was right about you. I smiled sadly. I have no doubt she has been. Claudia walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned. When you get old and need help, remember this. I stood. I am already old enough to know but help when I see it. She left. My hands shook after the door closed. I sat in my rocking chair, breathing slowly. I wanted to call Terrence. I wanted to say, your mother-in-law just came here and threatened me with loneliness, but I did not. For once, I let someone else carry their own household mess back where it belonged. That evening, Terrence came home angry, not loud. Terrence rarely got loud, but his face told me Claudia had reported back with seasoning. Ma, did Claudia come here? Yes. He closed his eyes. I told Vanessa not to involve her, but she did. He nodded. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing for things after they arrive at my door. He looked at me, startled. I continued. Go upstairs. Talk to your wife, and make it clear that no one else comes here to speak for her. He nodded slowly. Then he said, You're right. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because I had waited a long time to hear that without a but after it. He went upstairs. Their arguments started low, then rose. I did not listen at first, but old houses carry voices through vents and walls. Vanessa cried, She's making us homeless. Terrence said, No, Vanessa. We made this happen. She overreacted. You told my mother this was our house. I was frustrated. You meant it. Silence. Then Vanessa said something I will never forget. I thought you were on my side. Terrence answered, I am on my wife's side, but I am not on the side of disrespecting my mother. I sat very still. The house seemed to hold its breath. Vanessa cried harder. Terrence's voice softened, but did not weaken. We need our own place, not hers, ours. I looked at Raymond's picture on the mantel. Well, I whispered, Your son finally found his spine. I imagined Raymond laughing. The next few days were colder. Vanessa did not speak to me unless she had to. Terrence began looking at apartments, not houses, apartments. Reality had entered the room. I noticed he looked relieved sometimes. That surprised me. One evening, he found me watering the plant shelf near the window. He stood beside me. I found a place. I looked at him. Where? Westbrook Apartments. That's 20 minutes from your job. I know. It's smaller than we wanted, but we can afford it. I nodded. Good. He looked around the room. Move in is next month. Good. He hesitated. Ma, yes? Can I ask you something? You can ask. Did Dad leave the house to me in your will? I looked at my son. There it was, the question under everything. I set the watering can down. I made a will after your father died. He swallowed. Okay, you are my only child, Terence. Yes, eventually, much of what I have may go to you. His eyes lowered, but not while I am living. He nodded quickly. I know. No, I need you to hear me. Inheritance is not a layaway plan on your parents' life. His face crumpled. I hate that it got like this. So do I. He sat down. I don't want your house, Ma. I looked at him. I believe you don't want it. That hit him. His eyes filled. I continued, but part of you liked knowing it was there. He nodded. Yes, that honest yes mattered. I think Vanessa liked it more. He whispered, I know. But I didn't stop her. I know that too. He wiped his face. I'm going to fix this. Start with yourself. He nodded. I will. The third week, I went to see my lawyer, not because I wanted to punish Terence, because I had learned that love without papers can become confusion. Her name was Miss Laverne Price. She had handled Raymond's estate after he died. She was a calm woman with silver hair and glasses that made everyone look like they were already in trouble. I told her everything, the move-in, the contractor, the comments, the 30 days, Terence's question. Ms. Price listened without interrupting. Then she said, Gloria, we should update your documents. My stomach tightened. I don't want to cut my son out. I didn't say cut him out. I said protect your wishes clearly. She explained options, a life estate, a trust, clear instructions, medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney, backup decision makers, boundaries in writing. It felt like too much, but then I remembered Vanessa holding my mug. This is our house. Now, I signed the papers to begin. Ms. Price said, you are doing the responsible thing. Why does it feel cruel? Because women are often taught that protecting themselves is the same as rejecting others. I sat with that. Protecting myself was not rejecting my son. It was refusing to make my security depend on his marriage. That was wisdom. Late in the third week, Vanessa knocked on my bedroom door. That surprised me. She had not come to me directly since the kitchen argument. I opened it. She stood there without makeup, looking younger and more tired. Can we talk? I wanted to say no, but I stepped into the hallway. Talk, she swallowed. I know you think I'm a terrible person. I think you behaved terribly. She flinched. That's fair. That surprised me. She looked down. I was scared. I said nothing. She continued. When Terence said we could move here, I thought, finally we can breathe. Finally we can save. Finally I won't feel like I'm always behind. Her voice shook. I know this is your house. I do, but I think I started seeing it as the answer to everything I was afraid of. And where did you see me? She looked up, her eyes filled. In the way. There it was, truth, ugly but truth. I appreciated it more than a pretty lie. She wiped her face. I'm ashamed of that. You should be. She nodded. I am. I leaned against the doorframe. Vanessa, fear explains some things. It does. Not excuse disrespect, I know. Do you? I'm trying to. That is more honest. She gave a small sad smile. I don't know how to apologize without sounding like I'm trying to stay. That also surprised me. Are you trying to stay? No, good. She breathed out. We found an apartment. I know. I think it will be good for us. I hope so. She looked down the hallway toward the living room. I moved your chair because I wanted the room to look like mine. I know. I'm sorry. That apology landed somewhere. Not deep enough to heal everything. But it landed. I accept your apology, I said. Her face softened. But I do not trust you yet. She nodded. I understand. I hope you do. Because trust is not rebuilt by tears. It is rebuilt by repeated respect. She nodded again. I'll remember that. I watched her walk away. For the first time, I saw not just the polished woman who had tried to take over my home. I saw a scared woman who had confused control with safety, but I also saw myself more clearly. I was not her solution. I was not her obstacle. I was a woman with a home, and I was finally defending it. Moving day came on a cloudy Saturday. I woke up early. Before anyone else, the house was quiet. Boxes lined the hallway. Vanessa had packed neatly. Of course she had. Labels on everything. Kitchen, bedroom, office, decor. I noticed one box near the front door labeled home items. That made me pause. Home items. I wondered how many of those things had been mine before Vanessa decided the house was hers to curate. I walked into the kitchen and opened my cabinets. My blue mug was there, Raymond's mug too. The good plates were back on the shelf. My spice jars were still not where I originally had them, but I had decided to move them back after everyone left. Some things you save for the quiet after the storm. Terrence came downstairs at 7. He looked tired, wearing jeans and an old college sweatshirt. Morning, Ma. Morning. He poured coffee, then stopped. Is it okay if I use this mug? He held up a plain white one. I almost smiled. You can use a mug, Terrence. He looked embarrassed. I know. He poured the coffee. We stood in silence. Then he said, the movers come at 9. All right. He looked around the kitchen. I'm sorry we brought this kind of energy into your house. That was a different apology. Not sorry if, not sorry but, sorry we brought this. I nodded. I am too. He sat at the table. Can I tell you something? Yes. I was relieved when you gave us 30 days. I turned. He gave a sad laugh. I know that sounds strange. It does, but things were getting wrong. Vanessa was pushing. I was avoiding. You were hurting, and I didn't know how to stop it without choosing between you. I sat across from him. You did have to choose. His face fell. I continued. You had to choose right over wrong. That is not the same as choosing mother over wife. He nodded slowly. I'm learning that. Good. He looked at Raymond's picture on the wall. Dad would be disappointed in me. Yes. His eyes filled. I did not soften it. Not because I wanted to wound him, because false comfort would not help him become better, but he would also be proud that you are seeing it. Terrence wiped his eyes. You think so? Yes. Your father believed a man could be wrong and still stand back up, but he had no patience for a man staying wrong because pride gave him a chair. Terrence laughed through tears. That sounds like Dad. It is. By 9, the movers arrived. The house filled with footsteps, tape, lifting, and the dull thump of boxes being carried out. Vanessa directed them. Terrence carried what he could. I mostly stayed in the living room, in my rocking chair, watching my house slowly return to itself. At one point, a mover picked up a small side table near the window. Not that, I said. Vanessa turned. Oh, I thought that was ours. I looked at her. It is not. She nodded quickly. Leave it, she told him. No argument. Progress. Later, I saw her standing in the hallway holding Raymond's fishing picture. My body tensed. She approached me carefully. I took this down before, she said. Yes, I didn't understand. No, you didn't. She looked at the picture. He looks kind. He was. I'm sorry I treated his memory like clutter. That sentence went deeper than I expected. My throat tightened. I reached for the frame. Thank you. She handed it to me with both hands. There are apologies that feel rehearsed, and there are apologies that arrive carrying the exact wound they made. That one felt real. By noon, most of their things were gone. The house echoed a little. Vanessa stood at the front door, purse on her shoulder. For the first time since I had known her, she looked unsure of herself. Mrs. Gloria, she said. Yes, thank you for letting us stay. I almost said, you're welcome, but something stopped me. Instead, I said, I hope you understand what it cost. She looked down. I do now. Good. She stepped forward like she might hug me, then stopped. I appreciated that. Consent matters even in family. I looked at her for a moment. Then I opened my arms slightly. She came to me carefully. The hug was not warm like family yet. but it was not fake. It was two women admitting damage had happened and something better might still be possible later. When she pulled away, she said, "I'll do better." I said, "Then do better where I can see it." She nodded. Terrence was the last to leave. He carried one final box to the truck. Then he came back inside alone. For a moment, he stood in the living room, looking around. The room was messy, dust where furniture had been, marks on the floor, empty spaces, but it was mine again. He reached into his pocket. "Ma," I looked at him. He held out a key, the spare key, the one I had given him when they moved in, the one he had placed on his keychain like he still belonged there without question. He held it in his open palm. My breath caught. "Terrence." He stepped closer. "I'm giving this back." I looked at the key, small, silver, ordinary, but in that moment, it felt heavier than a brick. He continued, "I don't want access to your home without your permission. I don't want Vanessa to have access. I don't want there to be any confusion." My eyes filled. "I gave that to you because you are my son. I know. Giving it back doesn't change that, I know. But keeping it right now feels like acting like nothing happened." I looked at his face. There was shame there, but also clarity. He was not handing me the key because I demanded it. He was handing it to me because he finally understood what it represented. I took it, my fingers closed around the metal. For a second, I saw him at 8 years old, running into the house after school, shouting, "Ma, I'm home." Back then, he needed no key. The door was open. The world was smaller. Love was simpler. Now love needed boundaries. That hurt, but it was still love. Terrence wiped his face. "I want to earn a key again one day." I cried then, quietly. "So do I." He hugged me. This time I let myself hold him fully. My boy, my grown son, the man who had hurt me by being weak and was now trying to become strong. When he pulled back, he said, "I love you, Ma. I love you too. I'll call when we get settled." "All right." He walked to the door. At the threshold, he turned. "Ma, yes? Thank you for not letting me become the kind of man who takes from his mother because he's too afraid to disappoint his wife." That sentence shook me. I gripped the key in my hand. "You stopped yourself, Terrence." "No," he said. "You woke me up." Then he left. I watched from the porch as the truck pulled away. Vanessa looked out the passenger window. She lifted her hand. I lifted mine. Not a wave full of affection, a beginning. When they turned the corner, the street became quiet. The house behind me felt enormous. I walked back inside. The silence met me at the door. At first, it felt empty. Then it felt clean. I went room to room, the guest room, the hallway, the kitchen, the living room. Everywhere there were signs of disturbance, a scuff on the wall, a missing coaster, a scratch on the floor where my chair had been dragged back. I should have felt angry. Instead, I felt something else, ownership, not the kind on a deed, the kind in your bones. I took Raymond's picture and rehung it in the hallway, straight, centered. Then I moved my spices back, cumin near the front, paprika beside it, garlic powder where I could reach it without looking. I brought my good china from the pantry and placed it in the cabinet. I put the cream curtains in a box and rehung my old ones. They were faded, a little uneven, but they were mine. Then I sat in my rocking chair. The spare key was still in my hand. I looked at it for a long time. A key can mean welcome. It can mean trust. It can mean emergency. But it can also mean access. And access without respect becomes invasion. I placed the key in a small dish on the table beside me. Then I called Miss Price. "I want to finish those documents," I said. "Good," she replied. "And I want to think carefully about who gets keys, authority, and decisions while I'm alive." Very wise. After I hung up, I looked toward the hallway. Raymond's picture looked back at me. "I know," I said softly. "I should have done it sooner." That night, I slept better than I had in months. Not because I was happy my son was gone. I missed his footsteps already, But peace had finally returned to my house without asking me to disappear, the first Sunday after Terrence and Vanessa moved out. I cooked much. That is what mothers do when a house changes. We cook for ghosts. I made baked chicken, green beans, rice, cornbread, and a small peach cobbler. Then I stood in the kitchen looking at all that food and realized no one was coming. For a moment, sadness rose in me, not regret. Sadness, those are different. Regret says you did wrong. Sadness says something still hurts. I miss my son. I miss the easy version of us, before wives, before mortgages, before inheritance conversations, before he became a man who could stand in my kitchen and look guilty because he had allowed someone to measure my life in square footage. I fixed a plate and sat at the table. The chair across from me was empty, Raymond's chair. Terrence used to sit there after his father died, trying to fill space no son should have to fill. I ate slowly. The house was quiet. After lunch, the phone rang. Terrence, I looked at it for 3 rings before answering. Hello? Hey, Ma. His voice sounded nervous. Hey, baby, we're settled. Mostly, that's good. The apartment is small. I smiled. Small can be honest. He laughed softly. Yeah. Vanessa cried when she saw the closet. I'm sure. She's okay now. Good. There was a pause. Then he said, can I come by later this week? Not to stay, just to help with the garage. I looked toward the hallway. A month ago, he would have said, I'm coming by. Now he asked, that mattered. Yes. Thursday afternoon. Thank you. After we hung up, I felt lighter. Not because everything was fixed, because respect had entered the conversation. Thursday, he came alone. He knocked. I opened the door. He held a small toolbox and a bag of groceries. Before you say anything, he said, the groceries are not payment. I just saw sweet potatoes on sale. I laughed. Come in. He stepped inside and stopped. The house looked like itself again. My curtains, my chair, Raymond's picture. He smiled sadly. It feels like home. It is. He nodded. I know. We worked in the garage for 2 hours, or rather, he worked and I supervised. That is a mother's right. He sorted old boxes, tossed broken things, put holiday decorations on lower shelves so I would not need a ladder. At one point, he found a box of Raymond's old tools. He sat on the floor and opened it slowly. There was the hammer Raymond had used for everything, a tape measure, a small level, screwdrivers with worn handles. Terrence picked up the hammer. His eyes filled. I thought I was ready to look at this stuff. You don't have to be ready. You just have to be honest. He nodded. I miss him. I do too. He held the hammer in both hands. I think I wanted the house because it felt like having more of him. That caught me. I sat on an old chair near the freezer. Terrence looked ashamed. I know that doesn't excuse anything. No, but it explains something important. He wiped his eyes. When Vanessa talked about updating things, I told myself Dad would want the house cared for, but really, I think I was scared that if the house stayed yours, then he stayed more yours than mine. My heart softened. Grief is selfish sometimes, not because we are bad, because loss makes us reach for anything that feels like proof. Terrence, I said, your father is not in the deed. He looked at me. He is in you. In your laugh. In the way you stand when you're thinking. In how you fix things quietly. In the way you apologize with groceries. He laughed through tears. I continued. This house holds memories of him, yes. But you don't need to own it to belong to those memories. He nodded slowly. I think I know that now. Good. He touched the hammer. Can I keep this? I looked at it, Raymond's hammer. For a moment, I wanted to say no just because I could. Then I asked myself why. Was I protecting something? Or punishing him? There is a difference. I said, yes. His face changed. Really? Yes. Your father would want you to have it. He held it close for a second. Thank you. That was a good moment, a healing moment. But healing was not a straight road. 2 weeks later, Vanessa tested the boundary again. She called me on a Tuesday afternoon, Mrs. Gloria, Vanessa. Her voice was polite, too polite. I wanted to ask if Terrence could stop by after work to pick up the pressure cooker. My pressure cooker? Well, we used it a few times when we stayed there, and I thought you thought it was yours. Silence. Then no, I just thought maybe since you don't use it much, Vanessa. Yes, if you would like to borrow something, ask to borrow it. Do not send my son to pick it up like it is already leaving. She was quiet. Then she said, "You're right, that surprised me." She continued, "May we borrow the pressure cooker for Sunday? I'll bring it back Monday." I sat back, a proper question, a return plan, respect. Yes, I said. You may borrow it, thank you. And Vanessa? Yes, this is how trust gets rebuilt. Her voice softened. I'm learning. She did return it Monday, clean, with a small container of stew. It tasted pretty good too. I called her and said so. She sounded pleased, not triumphant, pleased. That was progress. A month after they moved out, Terrence invited me to their apartment for dinner. I went, not because everything was perfect, because repair needs witnesses. Their apartment was small, second floor, beige walls, narrow kitchen. Vanessa had made it pretty without pretending it was a mansion, a plant near the window, framed wedding photo on a shelf, a small table set for three. When I walked in, Vanessa took my coat. Thank you for coming, Mrs. Gloria. Thank you for inviting me. Terrence stood near the stove, stirring something. Don't worry, Ma. I did not cook unsupervised. I smiled. That is wise. Dinner was simple. Chicken stew, rice, salad, cornbread from a box. But I did not mention that, during dinner, Vanessa looked around and said, "This place is small, but it's ours." Then she stopped. Her eyes met mine. I mean, ours because we pay for it. I laughed. Terrence laughed too. Vanessa smiled, embarrassed. I hear it now, she said. Hear what? I asked. How dangerous that word can sound when it's pointed at the wrong thing. I nodded. Words reveal the heart before we are ready sometimes. She looked down. My heart was ugly for a while. I said nothing. She continued. I was so focused on not feeling powerless that I made you feel powerless. That was the clearest thing she had said. Terrence reached for her hand. She looked at me. I am sorry. I know. I'm going to keep saying it. But I'm also trying to live it. That is what matters. After dinner, she showed me a small notebook, a home savings plan, their own, not mine. She had written monthly goals, debt payments, emergency fund, down payment. No mention of my house. No quiet hope that death would be their financial strategy. I looked at the notebook. This is good, she smiled. It's slower than I want. Most honest things are. Terrence nodded. We're learning that. Before I left, Terrence walked me to my car. The night air was cool. He held my door open. Ma, I was thinking, about what? Maybe we can do Sunday dinner once a month, at your place or ours. But only if you want, only if you want. Those words were small, but they were a gift. I would like that, I said. He smiled. Good. Then he looked serious. But I don't want you cooking everything. Now you're talking nonsense. He laughed. I mean it. We can bring food, too. We will discuss. That means no, that means we will discuss. He hugged me. This time, there was no guilt between us, not gone completely, but not standing in the middle. As I drove home, I thought about how easy it would have been to call 30 days too harsh. Some people would say I should have given them more time. Some would say family should endure. Some would say a mother should sacrifice. But sacrifice without respect becomes disappearance. And I had almost disappeared. Inside my own house, when I got home, I unlocked my door with my key, only my key. The house was dark and quiet. I turned on the lamp. Raymond's picture glowed softly in the hallway. I placed my purse on the table and looked around. Nothing had moved. Nothing had been changed without me. No paint samples. No strangers with tape measures. No polite little comments about value. Just my home. my peace, my name on the papers, my memories on the walls, and my voice still alive inside it. 6 months after Terrence gave me back the spare key, he asked for something that made my heart stop for a second. Not the key, not money, not a place to stay, something harder. He asked if he and Vanessa could come over and talk about the future, the real future, he said on the phone. Not the one we made assumptions about. I sat at the kitchen table with my tea. What does that mean? It means your wishes, Ma. What you want, what you don't want, the house, medical stuff, everything. My chest tightened. Those conversations are not easy. Mothers can talk about everybody else's life with strength, but when it comes to our own aging, our own papers, our own ending, we sometimes get quiet. Still, I had learned enough. All right, I said. Come Saturday. Before Saturday, I called Miss Price and asked what I should share. She said, share what gives clarity, not what invites control. That was wise. So I made copies of certain things, not everything, a list of emergency contacts, where important documents were kept, my medical preferences, who had power of attorney, the trust summary, my choice to remain in my home as long as possible, my decision that no one would move into the house, renovate it, sell it, borrow against it, or make plans around it while I was living without my clear written consent. That sentence felt strong, maybe even too strong. Then I remembered Vanessa in my kitchen. This is our house now. No, not too strong, necessary. Saturday came. Terrence and Vanessa arrived together. They knocked. When I opened the door, Vanessa held flowers, not fancy ones, grocery store sunflowers. My mother said never arrived to a serious conversation empty-handed. She said, I took them. Your mother gives some good advice. Vanessa smiled nervously. Some. We sat at the dining table, the same table Raymond had refinished, the same table that had held birthdays, bills, casseroles, homework, grief, and now legal papers. Terrence looked at the folder in front of me. I'm nervous, he admitted. Good, I said. That means you understand this matters. Vanessa nodded. I'm nervous too. I looked at her. So am I. That softened the room. I opened the folder. I love you both, I began. But love was never supposed to require confusion. So we are going to be clear. Terrence's eyes filled already. I continued. This house is mine while I am living. Not emotionally mine. Not temporarily mine. Legally mine. No one makes plans for it while I am here. Terrence nodded. Vanessa said, understood. If I need help one day, help will be discussed with me, not around me. Yes, Terrence said. If I become unable to make decisions, Miss Price has the documents. Terrence, you are listed for certain responsibilities, but with checks. Bernice is backup, and some decisions require both of you to consult with my doctor and Miss Price. Terrence looked surprised. Bernice? Yes, he gave a small laugh through tears. Aunt Bernice is going to enjoy that power. She already does. Vanessa smiled. I continued. When I pass, the house may eventually come to you, Terrence, depending on conditions in the trust, but not as something anyone waits for, not as something anyone pressures me about, not as something that controls how I am treated. Terrence lowered his head. I'm sorry, Ma, I know. Let me finish. He nodded. I have also included a letter, not legal, personal. I pulled it out. My hands shook a little. Reading your own heart in front of people is not easy, but I read it anyway. Terrence, this house is not just property. It is the place your father and I built with years, mistakes, laughter, and sacrifice. If it becomes yours one day, I want you to remember that you did not inherit walls. You inherited a story. Do not let anyone make you feel entitled to a story you did not live. Honor it by living honestly in your own home first. Vanessa, you married my son, not my house. I hope one day we become true family, but family begins with respect. If this house ever comes under your care, Remember that it first held another woman's prayers. Do not erase me to make room for yourself, and to both of you. I want peace, but not the kind that requires my silence. I want love, but not the kind that steps over boundaries. I want family, but not the kind that waits for an older woman to move out of the way. If you love me, see me while I am here. When I finished, no one spoke. Terence was crying. Vanessa's hands covered her mouth. I folded the letter and placed it on the table. Terence reached for my hand. I see you, Ma. I looked at him. I believe you are learning to. He nodded, accepting that. Vanessa wiped her eyes. Mrs. Gloria, may I say something? Yes. She looked at the table. I thought having a house would make me feel safe, but I think I confused safety with control. When I walked into your home, I saw what I wanted, not what you had survived. That sentence touched something in me. She continued, I am sorry for calling it our house. I am sorry for moving your things. I am sorry for treating your memories like they were in my way. I listened. I don't expect a key. I don't expect trust right away, but I want to earn a place in your family without taking yours. The room went quiet. That was the apology I had needed months earlier. Not perfect, but humble. I nodded. Then keep doing that. I will. After that conversation, something eased, not disappeared, eased. Terence still did not get the spare key back. Not then. He did not ask. That mattered. A year passed. Sunday dinners became monthly, sometimes at my house, sometimes at their apartment. Vanessa learned to make cornbread from scratch because Bernice insulted the box kind so badly that even I felt sorry for the box. Terence and Vanessa saved money slowly, very slowly. There were setbacks, a car repair, a medical bill, a slow season at Vanessa's job, but they stopped treating my home like a backup plan. They talked about their own, a small townhouse maybe, nothing fancy, something honest. One day, Vanessa called me, Mrs. Gloria, I need advice. I paused. About what? A client, older woman. Her son keeps pushing her to sell before she's ready. I sat down. And what did you tell her? I told her not to sign anything until she talks to her own lawyer. I smiled. Good. Vanessa was quiet. Then she said, I thought you'd want to know. I heard myself. I closed my eyes. That was growth. Not words at a dinner table, not tears, a changed choice when I was not in the room. I'm proud of you, I said. She cried. So did I, a little. 2 years after they moved out, Terence and Vanessa bought a small house, not as big as mine, not in a fancy neighborhood, but it had a good roof, a little yard, and a kitchen Vanessa said she could work with, which made Terence immediately look at me and say, but only with permission from the bank and common sense. We laughed. On moving day, I brought sandwiches, Bernice brought lemonade and criticism. This porch needs paint, she said. Vanessa smiled. We know. Good. Awareness is the first blessing. Inside, the house was empty and echoing. Terence stood in the living room, looking around like he could not believe it. Vanessa touched the wall. Our house, she said softly. Then she looked at me quickly. I smiled. Yes, I said. This one is. Her eyes filled. Terence put his arm around her. They had earned that sentence, not by waiting for me to vanish. By building something of their own. Later that day, Terence found me on the porch. Ma, yes, he held up a small key. My heart jumped before I understood. This is for you, he said. A key? To our house. For emergencies. And because we want you to have it. I looked at the key in his hand. Life has a way of circling back with different meaning. Once, he had handed me my key back because he understood he had lost the right to enter without asking. Now he was offering me his because he understood welcome must be given freely. I took it. You sure? He smiled. Yes, but don't come over rearranging furniture. I laughed. I wouldn't dare. I remember how that feels. His face softened. I love you, Ma. I love you too. A few months later, I gave him back a spare key to my house. Not because things were exactly as before, they were not, because trust that is rebuilt honestly is not the same as trust that was never tested. I gave it to him at Sunday dinner. He looked down at it, then at me. Ma, for emergencies, I said. He nodded, eyes wet. I won't misuse it, I know. And Vanessa? I smiled. She can come in if she is with you or if I invite her. We are still growing, he laughed. Through tears, that's fair. Vanessa, sitting across the table, raised both hands. Fair. We all laughed. That laughter felt good. Not because the past was erased, because it no longer owned the room. I still live in my little brick house on Maple Grove Road. The curtains are mine. The rocking chair is mine. Raymond's picture hangs in the hallway, right where it belongs. The plant shelf sits by the window. The blue mug with the chip is still in my cabinet. Sometimes Vanessa uses it when she visits, but now she asks, "May I use this one?" And I say yes, not because the mug matters so much, because asking does. One afternoon, she stood in my kitchen holding that mug, and we both remembered. She looked embarrassed. I hate that I said what I said. I knew what she meant. This is our house now. I stirred tea at the stove. I hated it too. She nodded. Thank you for not letting me become that woman permanently. I looked at her. You had to choose not to stay that woman. I know. We sat together at the kitchen table, the same table where everything almost broke. Now there was tea, pound cake, and quiet respect. That is what healing looks like sometimes. Not dramatic, not perfect, just two women sitting where resentment used to sit. If you are listening to this, let me tell you what I learned. Family can need help and still owe respect. A son can love his mother and still fail her if he lets silence do the work of betrayal. A daughter-in-law can be scared and still be wrong, and a mother can open her home without handing over her place. Do not let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting what you built. Do not let them call you selfish because you finally say no. Do not let age turn you into background furniture in your own life. And please, hear me clearly. A home is not just an asset. It is not just square footage. It is not just future inheritance. It is not a backup plan for grown children who have not made their own. A home is years. It is sacrifice. It is memories. It is the place where grief sits down and still feels safe. It is the roof someone worked to leave you. It deserves respect. You deserve respect. My daughter-in-law said, "This is our house now." But she was wrong. It was my house. My husband's love had helped build it. My labor had kept it. My memories had filled it. My name was on the papers, and my voice still mattered inside those walls. Then my son handed me the spare key, and that small key said what his mouth could barely speak. I was wrong. You are not in the way. This is yours. I see you. That key did not fix everything in one day, but it opened the door to something better: honesty, boundaries, repair, a family that had to learn respect before it could return to love. Final life lesson. Never confuse helping family with surrendering yourself. You can give shelter without giving ownership. You can love your children without letting them plan around your absence. And you can forgive people without handing them the key again too soon, because the people who truly love you will not try to take your place. They will knock, they will ask, they will respect the home you built. And when they finally understand the hurt they caused, they will not demand access. They will hand you back the key.